Mô Phật chào thầy ạ.
Mô Phật.
Mô Phật.
Em thân thiện Miss thân tự William.
Hi.
Hi John. Okay, let's start the class then. Thân thiện, can you say Namo Shakti please something?
Yes, thanks. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.
Right, thank you. Miss Thân Như will come soon.
Yes, I think she should be attending class. So she didn't tell me that she wasn't. So she should be coming soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I just read your comment and suggestion about assigning everyone's portions of the chapter to read first. So what do you think? Can you, Ms. Thân Tư, can you explain your suggestion, please?
Yes, Tay. So some people are more intelligent, I guess, than others. But for me, I'm the type of person that I kind of get nervous when I'm reading something and I get put on pressure to do a recap. So, and I know some people are good with that. Like my sister, she's fully good with that. But for me, I like to have time to understand what I'm reading and then kind of have a set time to think about it. So that's my process way of learning. Not necessarily is it for everyone, but that's the way how I can learn. And if it's okay with everybody, great. If not, it's okay too. And I can always say I don't understand something, and everybody can join in and help and contribute.
Thank you. How about William? You understand her suggestion?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I don't have any problem with that. I think it's just whoever is going to be the one who divides it up, and that's a little bit more work for them. And then it may work out that like perhaps 1 week we don't go as far, so someone may prepare it, but we may not get to it until the following week, or maybe we might go further than someone prepared. So there may be a few little hiccups with it, but overall I don't think it's a bad idea, and I see what she's saying. It may make some people more comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How about you, Thân Thiện? What do you think?
Well, for Thầy, there are some questions I might, so when you ask me question, I might not get the answer right away, but I need like some time to think about it. Before I answer, before I give you like, the right answer. I think it takes time for me to think more before I answer your questions. Yeah.
Yeah. How about this? Let's just postpone that for a while, and I think we can send out the what do you call the suggestion or comments, right? To see whether anyone wants to do that or not. And yes, it's sometimes if we divide the session first to discuss, yes, sometimes we may go faster, or sometimes we may go slower. So there's the problems too. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead, thầy Giáo Pháp.
I think it's what we can do is you just send out the file and just say that this week we will start from here, and whoever interested read it first as much as they can, and they can think about whatever they just read and prepare for the following week. So I don't think you need to divide the section for everyone. Just give them ahead the 1 week before that. They just read it, and they can think about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea too, Anton Fab. I think that's a great idea. That way, it doesn't give pressure for Thầy to divide up, and it doesn't give pressure for people having to worry, right? So whoever wants to volunteer and read it, they can, but at least they're prepared in advance. Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Right, thank you. Hi, Smith, Tammy, you doing okay?
Hello. Yeah, I was thinking it was 6 tonight. I'm glad I looked down.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, welcome back. Okay, let me share the screen about the sutra that we stopped last time. Okay. All right. So, please, if you like, you can read. Anyone like to read? Okay. Rồi, Thân Thiện, can you do, please?
Unmute, Thăng Thiện. Unmute first.
At that time, when Joshua listened in the presence of the great assembly to state his meaning once more, spoke in verse form, saying, I recall that in the past age, innumerable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha, most of honored man named Sun Moon Bright. This word honor one expounded the law, saving immeasurable living being and numberless millions of bodhisattvas, causing them to enter the Buddha wisdom. The 8 princely son whom this Buddha sired before taking leave of his family life, when they saw that the great sage had left his family, did likewise, carrying out Brahma practices. At the time, the Buddha preached a great vehicle, a sutra named immeasurable meaning. In the midst of the great assembly for the sake of the people, established road to sentence. When the Buddha had finished preaching this sutra, he sat in the seat of the law, sitting cross-legged in a samadhi called the place of immeasurable meanings.
You can stop here. Yep. Right.
So this is time when Joshua spoke that he remembered that a long time ago, there was a Buddha named Sun Moon Bright. He talked about this law. He talked about this law, and
Okay. Yeah. So last time we talked about the 8 princely son. Remember?
yes, he did. So he had an 8 princely son. So before he leave their family life, oh, okay. So I think this is similar to what Buddha Sakyamuni. So it's like it's similar when he finished preaching the sutra and he sat in the seat of the law and enter into a samadhi called place of immeasurable meanings.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So last time we talked about the 8 princely son, so represent our 8 consciousness. And of course, only the Buddhas could recognize the past Buddha and how they attain enlightenment and so forth. So That's what we discussed last time. Uh, okay. And Jimmy, would you like to read this?
Yeah, mô Phật thầy. The heavens, rain, Mandarava flowers, heavenly drums sound of themselves, and the heavenly beings, dragons, and spirits made offerings to the most honor of man. All the Buddha lands immediately quaked and trembled greatly. The Buddha emit a light from between his eyebrows, manifesting signs that they are rare seen. This light illuminate the eastern direction, 18,000 Buddha lands showing how all the living beings that were recompensed in birth and death for their past deed. That one could see how these Buddha's lands adorned with numerous jewels shone with hues of lapis lazuli and crystal was due to illuminations of the Buddha's light.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can summarize, please.
Yes, thầy Mô Phật. What it means is when in this life, beings just have to born and sick, suffering, and death. And on the Western world of the Buddha, there is no rebirth, no death, and it also has everything that we need, like everything's made of gold, crystal, diamonds, and etc. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We just recap, we got review as we said. Who would like to read? You like to read this one, please?
Thầy, can you point me again where I'm supposed to read?
Yeah, right here. One could also.
Okay, thank you, Thầy. One could also see the heavenly and human beings, dragons, spirits, many yakshas, Gandharvas, and Kimnaras, each making offerings to his respective Buddha. One could also see thus come ones naturally attaining the Buddha way, their bodies the color of golden mountains, upright, imposing, very subtle and wonderful. It was as though in the midst of pure lapis lazuli, there should appear statues of real gold. In the midst of the great assembly, the world-honored ones expounded the principle of the profound law. In one after another of the Buddha lands, the voice hearers in countless multitudes, through the illumination of the Buddha's light, all became visible with their great assemblies. There were also monks residing in the midst of the forest, exerting themselves and keeping the pure precept as though they were guarding a bright jewel. One can also see Bodhisattva carrying out almsgiving for, can you please forward up, forbearance, and so forth. Their number like Ganga's sand due to the illumination of the Buddha's light.
Yeah, you can stop here. Okay, sorry, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure, but I'm just seeing that there's brightness in the area. Maybe someone can help me out on it, please.
Yeah. William, what do you think? Can you?
Oh, sure. So in this case, Manjushri is referring to this image that can be seen since the Buddha emitted this light. And one of the things that the sights they can see are these heavenly and human beings, dragons, spirits, these yakshas, which are, they're like a type of, kind of a type of ghostly being. Gandharvas, which I think they live on smell, I think is one of the marks of a Gandharva. Kinnaras, which are these beings, I think they really delight in dancing, but are like a subtle being that we can't see. And they're all offering to the Buddha. So all of these different beings, the assembly is seeing that all of these beings respect and offer to the Buddhas, whatever realm they're in. You know? And they could also see beings attaining Buddhahood and are just struck by how beautiful they are, how they're like golden mountains. And then they could see the Buddhas, the world-honored ones, teaching the law and explaining it, and these just multitudes of people who are listening to the Buddha. And all of this is because of this light from between Sun Moon Bright's eyes. And then they have other images of monks practicing the way out in forests, or bodhisattvas who are practicing generosity and forbearance, as all of these different examples of practicing the way.
Right, thank you. Yeah, could you mind to read next, please?
Oh, I'm happy to.
Okay.
One could also see bodhisattvas carrying out almsgiving, forbearances, and so forth, their number like Ganges sands, due to the illumination of the Buddha's light. One could also see bodhisattvas entering deep into meditation practices, their bodies and minds still and unmoving, in that manner seeking the unsurpassed way. One could also see bodhisattvas who knew that phenomena are marked by tranquility and extinction, each in his respective land, preaching the law and seeking the Buddha way. At that time, the four kinds of believers, seeing the Buddha Sun Moon Bright manifest his great transcendental powers, all rejoiced in their hearts, and each one asked his neighbor what had caused these events. The one honored by heavenly and human beings just then arose from his samadhi and praised Bodhisattva Wonderfully Bright, saying, "You are the eyes of the world, one whom all can take faith in and believe, able to honor and uphold the storehouse of the Dharma. The law that I preach, you alone know how to testify to it." The world-honored one, having bestowed this praise, causing Wonderfully Bright to rejoice, preached the Lotus for fully 60 small kalpas, the Lotus Sutra for fully 60 small kalpas.
Yeah.
So this is basically, in this part, Manjushri is relating an experience he had a long time ago in another life when he was called Wonderfully Bright. Well, he hasn't said that yet, but he's relating this, witnessing Sun Moon Bright doing the same thing that Shakyamuni Buddha is doing in the present moment. So he's responding to Shariputra saying, yeah, I've seen this before, and then he's describing what he saw, and what he's describing is the same as what Shariputra just described. You know, Buddha's preaching, bodhisattvas practicing the way through meditation, through, you know, teaching the doctrine to people, through entering forests. Here we also see the Buddha Sun Moon Bright acknowledging the attainments of the foremost disciples, Wonderfully Bright. And it really speaks to this. It's like, it seems like when the Buddha is leaving the world, the Buddha has drawn along people to realization, and then leaves people there that can actually help maintain the teachings and carry them forward. So they're, you know, that's their role in practicing the way. Like in the future, Wonderfully Bright will eventually become a Buddha, but in that life, he is the one that can help people after the Buddha enters into nirvana.
Yeah, I have that I think we have not discussed last time. So Right after Maitreya Bodhisattva saw the Buddha enter Nirvana, saw enter Samadhi. After he emit the light from the middle of his eyebrows, and he asked Maitreya Bodhisattva, what's going on? So Maitreya Bodhisattva tell this kind of story about the past Buddha's moon bride, and he told Stanley that this Buddha emit the same light between his eyebrows, and also he had that type of sign as similar as the Shakyamuni. So my question is, why did the Maitreya Bodhisattva mention this type of special event that had happened before? You understand that?
I think he's mentioning it to let Shariputra know how he knows what it means. And also to mark the importance of it in that he didn't say this happened 2 lifetimes ago. He said, this happened immeasurable kalpas ago. Like he remembers a really, 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 really long time ago, so many lifetimes. And so it also marks how rare it is for this to occur. So I think those are 2 of the reasons why Manjushri mentioned it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anything else that someone like to share? Some important meanings there. Anyone else? How about Mr. Teng Như? What do you think? Anything that you can think of? Why Maitreya Bodhisattva mentioned the same events that happened to the past Buddha, so that he could remind the assembly that what's going on to Shakyamuni Buddha teaching now.
No, Tay, I don't have any other additional comments. I just think just the same that he is just letting the people know that this is what happened, and so we should be prepared that this is what's going on. Again, that this is marking the phenomenon of again, the Lotus Sutra is being taught because it is a rarity. It's not something that we get blessed or the people in general will be blessed to witness this. And this is a rarity, so that we should, he lights the way so that way we can mark the phenomena and to be prepared in the coming blessing.
Okay. And Jimmy, you have any idea why Maitreya Bodhisattva mentioned that past Buddha who show the same size as Shakyamuni Buddhas? Why?
Yeah, vô Phật thầy. Like Thăng Như say and William say, and it just kind of remind us that many years it was about the Lotus Sutra, and it's going to happen. So that's all I have. Sorry.
Okay, Thăng Thiền, what do you think?
I think about the same. I think when Joshi describe this event to remind us why the reason why Buddha Shakyamuni emitted the lights on his between his eyebrow is to teach us the middle way. I think that's the reason why he reminded us.
Okay. All right. How about John? You have any idea? Anything more?
Not any that I can say right now.
Okay. About Miss Thăng Tự, you have anything? Anything more, Miss Thăng Tự?
Yes, Tay, I don't have anything more to add, Tay. Thank you.
Mr. Tammy, you understand?
Yeah, I understand from what they're saying, but nothing more than what they've said.
Okay, thầy giáo pháp.
Immortal. Yeah, I think it's at the beginning, the Lotus Sutra is the Buddha is he expound the immeasurable meaning. The sutra name is called immeasurable meaning, and after that he also illuminate the light from his eyebrow. And after that, he went into a samadhi without saying anything, and that make the whole assembly wonder what's going on. Why the Buddha didn't say anything after that? And remember, most of his disciples at this time is they are in the Arhat level. They do not want to practice the Bodhisattva way. And in order to do this, the Buddha have to use the experiment by allow Maitreya Bodhisattva to ask Manjusri Bodhisattva. So Manjusri Bodhisattva have a chance to explain the past Buddha. That okay, this Buddha in the past, I also saw that he also saw the light, and also saw the way how the Bodhisattva practice from the Buddha teaching, and also the Bodhisattva become can attend the Buddha, and all this thing here to give the assembly faith in the Buddha Dhamma. That's going to be teach what will be called Lotus Sutra. So basically, it encourages the assembly to practice the Bodhisattva way. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. Okay, so let me sum up.
Tay, does it have anything to do with can you repeat your question again, Tay?
Yeah, the question is that why did Manjusri Bodhisattva explain about the phenomena that happened in the past with the past Buddha, and that's phenomena, that the side where the Buddha sun, moon, bright, he emit that type of light from his white hair between the eyebrows, and it's exactly the same way Buddha did before he entered samadhi. So why there's two exact occurrence between the past Buddha and the present Buddha? Why is that?
Does it have anything to do with at a certain point in time that not everybody will be able to understand, either through their capacity, they will not be able to understand the teaching or understand the when the Buddhas expound the truth of the Dharma, or they expound the Lotus Sutra, the meanings of the sutra will not be understood by everyone. It's only dependent upon the capacity of whoever that is able to accept it or to understand it. And then now it's happening again, so that way there is going to be a different amount of people who are able to understand it again.
Yeah, probably that's the case. But important is that old Buddhas want us to become Buddha like them. So that's why the past Buddha, the present Buddha, and future Buddha provide the same teaching. That's why Manjusri Bodhisattva explained to the whole assembly the past Buddha emit that light between the eyebrows that represent the one vehicle. That's the Buddhahood vehicle. That means the Buddha going to teach us how to attain not nirvana, not arhatship, but the Buddhahood. How we activate that type of Buddha nature within ourselves. That is the utmost path, utmost vehicles that want us to go. And if we understand this first chapter, the introductory chapter, clearly, and the rest about all the chapters is much easier to understand. So when we learn about the parables that the Buddha called everyone out of the fire house, but he gave the experience mean that okay, you guys get out here, get out that burning house. I have 3 types of cars for you. If they, I mean that the children, they like to enjoy the cart, they will jump out, they will get out the house. Actually, when they get out the house, he gave them the foremost one, and that's what we call here the one vehicles, the Buddhahood. And in other chapter, the Buddha said what they call the transformation tree. So the Buddha remind his arhat disciple that when you attend nirvana, when you attend arhatship, just memory is like the transformation city. It's not the main goal. It's not the ultimate goal. You need to move further to attain the Buddhahood, to become Buddha like me. You understand the idea now? Is that clear? So
Are you saying that by this same method, just like all the Buddhas, because it seems like what you're talking about with the parable is skillful means, and the Buddhas all use the same technique to bring the people to understanding and to reach the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is not necessarily nirvana, but it's the wisdom that is present in all the Buddhas.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, to become a Buddha like them. That's why in different chapter, I don't know whether it is the next chapter or not, but the Buddha say that the reason why I appear on this world because I want to open, basically point out that everyone of us, every sentient being has the Buddha nature, so that they can realize this type of Buddha nature, so that they can obtain that type of Buddhahood. So that's the ultimate goal. That's why he appeared. He appeared on this samsara world. So that's so critical. At the beginning, the first chapter, the Buddha didn't say anything, just show the signs that he shined the light that emit between his eyebrows, and Mahasi Bodhisattva represent the wisdom that mentioned to the whole assembly that the Buddha in the past did become his, and that's meaning that the Buddha in the past, the Buddha in the present, and the Buddha future, ultimately they want us to attain Buddhahood, not to attain arhatship, not to attain nirvana. That's just the transformation city, just the temporary. The ultimate goal is to become Buddha. So that's the reason why he appeared on earth. That's the reason why he teach this sutra, the Lotus Sutra, the one vehicle sutra. Is it understandable?
Yes, Thầy, I do understand.
What do you think, William? Is that clear? What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Let's see, Miss Tammy, would you like to read, please? This one here.
He never rose from this seat, and the supreme and wonderful law that he preached was accepted and upheld in its entirety by the Dharma teacher, wonderfully bright. After the Buddha had preached the Lotus, causing all the assembly to rejoice on that very same day, he announced to the assembly of heavenly and human beings, I have already expounded for you the meaning of the true entity of all phenomena. Now when midnight comes, I will enter nirvana. You must strive with all your hearts and remove yourselves from indulgence and laxity. It's very difficult to encounter a Buddha. You meet one once in a million kalpas. When the children of the world-honored one heard that the Buddha was to enter nirvana, each one was filled with sorrow and distress, wondering why the Buddha should so quickly seek existence. So he's preached to Lotus, and then he's getting ready to go in Nirvana, but everyone's disappointed that he's leaving.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Tung, can you read, please?
Did you say Tung Yu Thầy?
Yes, yeah, please, you. Yeah, please.
Yes. The sage Lord King of the law comforted and reassured the countless multitude, saying, "When I enter extinction, you must not be concerned or fearful. This Bodhisattva virtue storehouse has already fully understood in his mind the true entity that is without outflows. He will be next to become a Buddha bearing the name Pure Body, and he too will save immeasurable multitudes." That night the Buddha entered extinction as a fire dies out when the firewood is exhausted. They divided and apportioned his relics and built immeasurable numbers of towers. And the monks and nuns, whose number was like the Ganges sands, redoubled their exertions, thereby seeking the unsurpassed way. This Dharma teacher, wonderfully bright, honored and upheld the Buddha storehouse of the Dharma throughout 80 small kalpas, broadly propagating the Lotus Sutra. These 8 princely sons, whom wonderfully bright converted, held firmly to the unsurpassed way, and were thus able to encounter immeasurable Buddhas. And after they had made offerings to these Buddhas, they followed them in practicing the great way, and one after the other succeeded in becoming a Buddha, each in turn bestowing a prophecy on his successor. The last to become a heavenly being among heavenly beings was named the Buddha Burning Torch. As leader and teacher,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes. As leader and teacher of seers, I'm sorry, did you want me to just summarize?
Well, I think that's enough. Can you summarize?
Yes. So basically it just says that once the Buddha is ready to go into parinirvana, and once he leaves, he will leave no residue behind. That is not to say that it is a physical residue. It just means that he will pass, but he will not have any, because he has no more outflows. He has no more attachments. He has no more aggregates. He is completely gone. But he reassured the people that the Dharma will be protected, and he will leave that for his successors, Bodhisattva, wonderfully bright, and other Bodhisattvas to continue on to protect the Dharma. And of these Bodhisattvas, they also, following the teachings of the Buddha and following the traditions of the Buddha, they also became Buddhas. And basically the Buddha is saying that I leave to you the Dharma that is properly protected and properly passing on to the teaching to other people, so that it would be guarded carefully, and so that way no one should be concerned that anything would be lost upon his parinirvana, upon his extinction.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I have a question. According to this passage, right? So after the past Buddha passed, that end of Nirvana. Of course, before that, many people in the assembly so sad. But before he entered Nirvana, he said that, "Oh wow, I saw the wonderful bright Bodhisattva to take over my job to teach you guys." And of course, this Bodhisattva would teach his disciple the same dharmas, and of course, it continued for many kalpas, or for many million years. So my question is that let's talk about the history of Buddhism on this earth. So since the Buddha passed away more than 2,500 years, and in Buddhism we don't have any kind of central authorities So of course now somehow we're so fortunate that we still heard the pure Buddha teachings. What do you think about, let's say, another 2,500 years? You think Buddhism still survive, or depend condition, or what do you think? How Buddhism could survive for the next 2,500 years? Yeah, Ms. Thang Minh, what do you think? I mean, my point is that what are the conditions? What are uh, the important cause for Buddhism to substance its lifespan uh, to the future?
I think it would be very difficult. I think it's difficult now, and I think in 2,500 years, it would be very rare. If you read, and I don't know a lot about the many sutras, but if, especially in this Lotus Sutra, it will say more and more, it will become more difficult. The people will have more negative traits than there are positive traits. That makes it very difficult. And then I believe it is the Shurangama Sutra that it says, and I'm not very sure, it says that before the complete loss of Buddhism and the complete loss of the Buddhas, is it the Shurangama Sutra that will be the last one to exist? Do you know what I'm saying, Thay? Because it's almost as if it is the last one that will come to our to save our entity, to save our the people, because there is so much negative karma in the world that it would be very difficult for us to rise up for that. So it takes, as each year continues on, it will take more effort to propagate the teachings of the Buddha, because because of the negative behavior of the people in terms of whether it's attachment, whether it's material attachment, whether it's just the negative traits of the people, we will have less and less recognition, and we will not be able to propagate the teaching as easily anymore.
Yeah, thank you. How about power self? Right? Yeah, we understand that the main reason why the Buddha spoke this Lotus Sutra, or the main reason why the past Buddha demonstrate their sight of emitting the light between the eyebrows was to remind us that we have Buddha nature. We need to cultivate and activate that Buddha nature so that eventually we become Buddha like them. So my question is that hard for us to recognize as well as to activate that Buddha nature, or to move forward to that Buddhahood path? What do you think?
This is time to
Yes.
take. I was thinking of this is it depends, like for where you live and the society and the leaders that you have.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you think about, if you go to Thailand, we were fortunate enough to be over there when there was the ceremony of the king. And if you look at it, the leaders and how he led the people, there was a lot of compassion. And
Yeah.
so when he's passing, and the way how he perceived his life and how he cares about the people, you can see a lot of compassion, and you can see a lot of people that is very warm.
Yeah.
But if you look at different countries and you look at a leader, and the leader is not able to lead by example, or maybe one is more selfish than the other and more the society of thinking about themselves, then you have a tendency to see the followers, and I'm not saying everybody, but you see it being led differently. So in my opinion is, I think you know, like whether you have the opportunity, like for being educational, right? So if you follow, there's more classes, if there's more social media that is talking about Buddhism, and as you can see, even like some of the stars, they do listen more about, they do believe in karma, they do believe in a lot of them that they do believe in Buddhism. So it's just a matter of sharing how much you can share through social media, and then how much is your leaders. And there's a lot of variables that I look at it. But do I think that, is it possible? Anything is possible. It's just a matter of how are you gonna spread it out. Unfortunately, what we're seeing in the world, I mean, right now, it's not a good thing. And I'm hoping, you know, over time something is gonna happen, that maybe we have different leaders and a lot of leaders can be more compassionate. I think that would be very helpful, but we don't know how that's gonna be.
Yeah, thank you. Well, William, you understand my question?
Yes. Yeah. Well, the Buddha himself stated that there would be different phases to the law, and that right now I think we're in the seventh or eighth phase, and that, you know, we'll come to a point where there's a counterfeit law. So it won't really be the true Buddha Dharma. It will be like a shadow of the Buddha Dharma. And then we'll get to a point where only symbols remain, where the teachings aren't really present, just kind of symbols are the only recollection. So 2,500 years out, I do think by that point, from what I recall, that we will have passed into the phase where only symbols remain. And perhaps it's because, like, it's kind of hard to, it's hard to imagine the Buddha. Like when one first hears about the Buddha, I don't think we even begin to grasp the concept, the kind of depth and breadth of the being of the Buddha. And even after many years of studying Buddhism, I think we only begin to like get this very small understanding of it. So being so far away in time from when the Buddha existed, I think it will become harder for people to have faith, because I think many more people will just think it's a myth, that all of the things ascribed to the Buddha and the information in the sutras, that they're just stories. So yeah, I think 2,500 years out, it's probably less likely that you'll have as many people sincerely practicing and believing. But even in the Lotus Sutra, they talk about bodhisattva never disparaging. So this was in a time when only the counterfeit law of the Buddha of that age lived, and still there was a bodhisattva that lived in that time that was practicing the way in a sincere manner. So the other monks at that time, they weren't. I mean, they would like beat this bodhisattva with sticks and with rocks, because he would go around saying that people would become Buddhas. And to them, that was ridiculous. It was crazy. And he would never speak anything ill of them. So it sounds like it will become more rare, but still people with the appropriate affinities and having, you know, been diligent in past lives, there'll still be people practicing the way.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. And so, anyway, you know, again, in practical sense, it's not easy to recognize their own Buddha nature and not talk about how we attain Buddhahood, right? So how about and Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, more Phật thầy. Like I say, you know, what Williams have been talk about does make a lot of sense. It's very hard for each individual to have faith for Buddhism, because they just heard a sutra, a mantra, but they not really understand or pay more attention about Dharma going forward, for them to have the faith in Buddhism. So it just, like I say, hits and missed kind of thing, you know, is hard for the people, but that's what the world we live in, and I guess we have to go with it. I guess that's my 5 cents worth. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Thang Thing? What do you think? It's feel hard for us to recognize our Buddha nature. What do you think, Thang Thing?
You mean at this moment, it's really hard to recognize our Buddha nature if we don't practice the way. So when we see the teaching from the teacher, we should practice and apply that in our daily life. And we should take the effort to practice. So we had to practice deal gently, so that we can achieve the enlightenment. Yeah.
Okay, thầy Giáo Pháp, you want to say anything?
Yeah, you're more welcome. I just send you the chat that each Buddha, they have 3 different Dhamma period. We call, the first one is called the age of the right Dhamma. It lasts only 500 years since the Buddha entered Nirvana. The second one is the age of the Siplan Dhamma. It lasts only 500 years. After that, and the third one is called the degenerate age. It lasts about 10,000. We are in the last one right here. What does this mean here? Is the right Dharma. That means at the time the Buddha was still in the world, 10 people came to him, 10 people attended the Dharma. Okay. The second period is that we call the sampling Dharma. That means maybe 10 people come, only maybe 1 or 2 people can be able to actually achieve the Dharma. The third one is, that means even 1 million people who learn the Buddha teaching, but it's very tough for them to actually attend the routine of the Dharma. And the reason why, the first, I think, before you ask about the Buddha nature, you're asking the question that from now to 2,500 years, next 2,500 years, what is the criteria that make the Buddha Dharma can last even longer than that? The criteria in here, as long as the Sangha willing, as long as there is a monk or a nun who still uphold the Buddha discipline, that means the Buddha teaching discipline, that means the precept, and they still discipline themselves, and also preaching the Buddha teaching, that means the Dharma still survive. That is the criteria. Yes, at the Buddha time, that means they know material, just like industrial, like us. So the people become very simple. They easily understand and attend the Dhamma when the Buddha teaching. But the more we go into it, the more we have more material. Also depend on the collective karma of the people at that time. So we have more offensive collective Dhamma. That's why everything happened terribly in the world right now, we see. But what does that mean? It's very tough for us to be able to help other people to understand the Dharma because of materialists. Even though nowadays we have a lot of sutra online, right? But it doesn't mean that. Well, it's good, but it doesn't mean that the people will easily attend the Dharma because of materialists. We attach to it so much, right? So, but everything is possible. So if we, that means in Buddhism, we the Sangha it represents for to preaching the Dharma. The lay people is the one who support the Sangha to make that Dharma can stay in the world. So they are working together, and that everything could happen. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Yeah, should we still have a few minutes to go? Let me show you this. Okay, let's see here.
Hey, I have a question. If I could
Yeah, please.
ask.
Yeah, please.
I read that it is predicted and it was foretold that we will be in the Dharma ending age.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? And if there is a Dharma ending age, what period are we looking at? And if that were the case, I don't want to be fatalist, but if it says that there is a Dharma ending age, what hope do we have when we don't and it says that the Shurangama would be the first sutra to disappear in this age? How do we go about propagating the teaching if we don't have the support of the Dharma? And we don't, how do we go about that? Do we have another Ananda who can memorize the text and propagate it to us when we have no Dharma to rely upon? Yes, that's my question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that Thầy Giáo Pháp, can you explain that? Can you elaborate what you just say about Dharma age? Yeah, please.
Yeah, actually, we are about to begin. We are starting the ending Dhamma age right now. What does that mean? It's not the Dhamma, but the people who practice it. Even though we have a lot of sutra online right now, but it's still called the ending age of Dhamma. Why was that? Because there's no one. It's less people practice and uphold the Buddha teaching. I mean, in the right way, in the proper way. That's what the ending age. It's not about the Dhamma, not in the world, but about the one who is. Even though we have a lot of people, but doesn't mean that they are practicing properly.
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Thân Như, to ask this question. We may discuss next time, but before we have only a few minutes, I'd like to show you this, and I think you understand what I mean. All right, here, this is the statistic that's done by I think National Survey Statistic Committees. They say that 14% adults in this country, right, in America, do meditation. Another one I want to show you, and here. And this is okay. Survey, National Health Interview Survey. 8% of U.S. adults, about 18 million people, use meditation every day, not once per week, but every day. They done this kind of statistic in 2017. That's been 3 years ago. So let's go back to what I want to mention that yes. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes, Thầy.
Yes, Thầy.
Yeah, I have to slow it. Oh, anyway, So did you see the figures that just show you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So the points I want to say is that yes, we have to look things in overall pictures, not in one particular angles. So yes, in some Buddhist sutras say that we are in the Dhamma ending age. There's not many people practice Buddhism and so forth. But in my view, if we look in other views, I mean in other angles, that Buddhist meditation nowadays is so prevalent that even last 3 years ago, they estimated that 18 million people practicing, regardless who they are, whether they are Buddhist or non-Buddhist. And for me, it's not a hope, but it's so applicable. Buddhist meditation is so applicable that people even try to talk about Buddhist meditation, but they say, "Oh, I still use meditation to practice to calm my mind." Of course, in a sense, that's come from the Buddhist teaching. And even some of my students, some of my college students, as they did some kind of research about meditation, and somehow they could apply those kind of practice, and they could see the transformation. Why they go to school full time?
Interaction problem.
Okay, let me move. Yeah, that's okay. Let me move to. We have a few more minutes. Oh, all right. Let me move to.
I think it's better now. The signal is much better. Oh, now it's not.
Sorry, I know that the computer out there, the internet. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So
yes, Dave.
Let me summarize what I tried to say. Okay, we need to see the whole spectrum of the problems. So yes, in certain sutra, the Buddha said that yes, we are in the periods of Dhamma and the age. There's that after 2000 years of the Buddha passing away, we are now in the Dhamma age. That's in the one side. In the other side is that I just show you figures. Nowadays, Buddhist meditation is so prevalent that last 3 years, they estimate 18,000 people utilize Buddhist meditation, and 14% of people practices every day, not once per week. And even some of them, they are non-Buddhist, but they still utilize Buddhist meditation to apply in their life. And some of my students, even they are not Buddhist, but as much as they understand the benefit of meditation, they apply and they could see, it's not instant benefit, but they could see the change, the transformation in their mind from being stressed out so much, from being have so all kind of anxiety and so forth, to be peaceful when they go to work full time and they will go to school full time. So it's just, many of my students have that kind of experience. So it's not the thing that I say that I hope, but this is reality. That as people still apply the Buddha teachings, or whether they are Buddhist or non-Buddhist, still the Buddha teaching still survive on earth. So especially nowadays, yes, even that many people attached to material life, but because of those things, they stress them out. That's been a lot of mental suffering on them. And the tools the Buddha provide, even they're not Buddhist, they still utilize those tools beneficially. So in my views, so depend upon our own karma, depend upon our own affinity with Buddhism. So for me, I up to now I would not.
Yeah.
yeah, up to now I don't have any kind of pessimistic view about things. We just move on with the life. With everything we practice, we would share with other people, and whoever have the chance to learn and study, that's great for them. Yeah. Okay. So you guys follow me? You understand that? Okay. So yeah, I think it's it's past. Like any question before we end? Oh, okay. Let me mention one more thing. Okay. Again, thank you. Thanks for your permission to record this session. So that, let's say, if you absent, we can send to you this record session for you to view. And of course, as I mentioned, we want to keep this for our groups only. We would not send out for the public. But I upload this record session to my YouTube channel under my names, and I have to click on the public so that you can see. If I put private, well, you will not see. So so I want to explain to you that even we don't have the intention to share to publish, but I have to open that so that you can download and watch it later on. Yeah. So is that okay? Right. Okay. Miss Tung, Miss Tung Như, what do you think?
Yes, that's okay with me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
thầy.
Thank you. So hopefully thầy Giáo Pháp will create some one website for us to log in and view this kind of video clips in the future if he has time. But in the meantime, after our discussion, I will upload to the YouTube and send you the link so that you can follow what we just discussed about. Is that okay with everyone?
Dạ vâng, mô Phật thầy.
It's just shareable link, so it's not public. It's a mix.
Share among ourselves. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's end today. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead, John. Can you say Namo Shakti Buddha, please?
Namo Shakti Muni Buddha. Namo Shakti Muni Buddha. Namo Shakti Muni Buddha.
All right. Thank you.
Mô Phật thầy.
See you next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thay, and everyone.
Thank you.